Crossbows. There's a number of shows now that call for them. Addams Family, Deathtrap, and not a lot of options. So I did a previous video about a custom one that I did when I lived in Virginia, but I realized I kind of skipped a step. I didn't show where it started, and I haven't shared my most recent one except on a Instagram reel, Facebook reel. So let's get you up to date. So here's where it all began for me. Now, this was originally a toy I bought off Amazon, but modified. And it came with a plastic trigger and a modern sort of rifle-style stock, rifle-style trigger, plastic suction cup bolts, plain white PVC bow, didn't have this thing in front. So I customized this because I like to tinker with things. So I dressed up the bow a little bit just with some foam and tape on the sides to make it look a little bit more like it's not a piece of PVC. This was a while ago now, so some of this electrical tape is coming off. Obviously, it dressed up a little bit again. I cut down the stock so it looked a little bit less like a modern rifle stock and a little bit more like a medieval crossbow. The biggest change I made probably was the trigger. And so I took out the plastic trigger and I scratch built an aluminum trigger that would do the same thing. And this is not a historical crossbow bolt mechanism, but it's just a simple raising of a little lever from a notch in here. You can see that. And so that just pushes, like the string sits in the notch and the lever just pushes it out of the notch. And this is plastic here, but you know, again, weathered and painted a little bit to make it a little less like plastic. These now have, at least some of them have rubber, basically arrowheads. These are colored plastic bolts. So it can basically fire. It probably has like a 5-pound draw weight or something like that. Oh, I also put this little thing in the front to dress it up and make it a little more like a medieval crossbow and some random carving, and I think I stained it. I don't know. But I might be getting rid of this one because, you know, it was a great learning project, and I thought the trigger turned out well, but I have evolved. The Seahorse crossbow, I think is what I called it, that I did a previous video on. I basically stole the same trigger mechanism as this, because this is the one that I'd seen before. So similarly, it just lifts the string out of the notch to let the string go. But that does not hold the bolt the same way. And the drum is a little bit more historically accurate. So I decided I'm gonna do, it also didn't take down well. So as I ship things, like it's screwed into the front, it could be unscrewed and set to the side. But the amount of bend in it and the fact that you're screwing it out of wood, which will eventually strip the wood, made it not ideal for a prop to be shipped for various multiple clients over the years. So while it still works, I'm still fairly happy with it. I was like, I could do better. And prompted by seeing that Addams Family was one of the most produced musicals in the country, I figured I'd give it a try. Probably the last of the props projects that I'm going to be doing here in Ohio before I finish packing things up and moving, so probably more on that later. But I wanted to go ahead and show off my new toy. So, is this done? I don't know. But I think it's done enough that I'm going to have to pack it up and call it good for now. But you know, there's been more call for crossbows. Addams Family Musical was the most produced show, I think, in high schools last year, for example. And I've been renting some stuff out for a number of shows. That one, I didn't really optimize it for props use, nor was it the most historically accurate and all that stuff. So this started with me packing things up and all the things that like, oh, I was gonna do something with that someday, and now if I'm packing it up, is it worth saving? And so it was like, do it now or don't do it ever. So this was an old foil blade that was not really safe to use anymore. So I heated it up and bent it around. Yeah, some wood that I had, some PVC, some aluminum. This was gonna be part of a head camera holder rig for motion capture that I never got around to making. Here's some more of that same aluminum. This is more PVC. But anyway, so this is now what I've got going. And a couple of cool things about this. This can be broken down for easier shipping, whereas my previous one, yeah, I screwed it in and I can unscrew it and take it apart, but it wasn't really built for that, and too many times eventually the wood's gonna strip, it just won't be any good anymore. So this is a little bit more optimized. So let me show you what it can do first, and then I'll show you how to take it apart before I pack it up. I still haven't, I was going to epoxy these in, and I haven't yet. These little runners, they just help the slides, the string slide a little bit better along the top. And I'm not completely attached to how these darts work yet. This is a rubber dart tip. I bought some of those and put them on various things. So yes, this is basically functional, right? Now, draw weight, I don't know, 6 pounds maybe. We're not talking a whole lot. It's got a rotating drum here. And I found some 3D printed designs, so the next one I make, I might use one of those 3D printed drums. This is based around a bit of from the hardware store with some PVC attached to it. Some sheet metal here, some PVC here for the decorative bits. Obviously PVC slats for the bow. Let me show you one more time here firing, and then I'll show you how it breaks down. So this actually does a half decent job of holding it, of course, depending on the bolt that you've got, but it does a decent job of holding it in place, which is kind of nice. And of course you can fire one-handed, two-handed. This is actually fairly ergonomical here. You can do this kind of like shoulder thing here. It's an interesting option. Yeah, you got some options. And yeah, just pull the lever and it fires. Now these loops on the bottom, these were made because it's a fairly heavy draw weight on historical ones, so you can pull the string back. You know, I don't have a wide enough shot right now because my floor's a mess. But the idea being, of course, you put this on the ground, put your foot in that loop, and then you can draw it back using your whole body weight and not just your arms to be able to get that to stay. Right. And then you just push that up, that flops out. Now the historically, often the binding here is a little bit more, this is just kind of half-assed right now because I wasn't sure the best way to do this in a way that is easy for clients to be able to undo and redo. So right now this is just some scrap yarn or a cord that I had lying around that I thought would work. But you get the idea. So that's a pretty quick and dirty job right now of winding it around. If I ever rent this out, I'll make a little video on how to put it together and take it back apart again for shipping back. Because shipping expense is a large part of props rentals. That's actually part of why I got started, is I was in Seattle at the time and there was nobody there. And so when I wanted to rent a prop gun, I had to ship it up from California, and I paid as much to ship it back, more to ship it there and back than I did on the rental itself. So that was part of why I started doing props rentals. And I think that's true of a lot of folks. I've seen a lot more stage combat and stunt folks start running their own inventories as well. So anyway, this is just one bolt here. And then all of this comes off. So the bow was designed to be basically the same length as the rest of it, right? So this is essentially flat. For a sec. And I haven't decided, I might put like some heat shrink tubing over that or something to make it not white. Like, there was a lot of ivory used on some of the historical crossbows that I've seen, but not the bow. Usually that might be horn, it might be metal, it might be wood. Usually metal or horn. So yeah, I might try and color that or something. But anyway, and then this piece, which normally sticks out, just pivots around. So that can flop down. This can go to the side, and look at that. That could fit in a mailing tube that is a much more compact package than an assembled crossbow, and that was super quick and easy to do. So that is one of the reasons why I was motivated to try this experiment, was to see if I could make one that was essentially a takedown bow, both for props shipping and because I'm packing stuff up and I am painfully aware of just how big a pain in the butt it is to try and store and move hundreds of swords and fake guns and bows and crossbows and everything else. So now we have a much more compact package ready for me to pack up, ready to go. All right, so I am doing my best to hang in there. I hope you're all doing the same. Stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, stay productive if you can, and if not, that's okay too. And I'll check in when I can. Until next time, whenever and wherever that is, I'm Kevin Inoue with Flight Designer LLC, and I'll see you later.